Okay, so I'm pretty curious. Was it terrible to play in Green Bay? That's the question. You know what? I think I might have got my answer. Devondre Campbell's tweet. It's pretty interesting. So I go on Twitter and I see this guy, Devondre Campbell, tweet about having so much fun. And I'm kind of thinking, geez, football season hasn't even started yet. And this guy's excited to be here. I mean, he must have been so excited more than his Green Bay tenure, to say the least, you know? Like, if you read what the tweet was saying, I can't lie. Like, he's having fun playing football again. He was in a situation where he lost the passion for the game of football. He lost the passion of it. Now he's glad that he's found the love of football. So he's just happy for himself because, you know, there's some players at the end of their career. You know, the guy's about 31 years old. He's got about at least a couple more years left in the tank. Some players at that stage have every reason to lose passion for the game of football because they're at that age where their body is not the same. But for Devondre Campbell, you're kind of curious. What is going on in Green Bay? What's the culture like? So you look at the previous team that he played for. The defensive coordinator, Joe Barry, he kind of put him out of position from my understanding. He was complaining about that stuff. And he was outspoken in the locker room. So there was something going on behind the scenes. He wasn't liking it. He was just speaking out of his own heart and whatever happened. But you would think, doesn't Green Bay have a great culture, right? You would think. Maybe on their play caller on defense is not that great. Their head coach is good. They know how to develop quarterbacks. They've been going for 30 plus years with a legitimate quarterback, so they got a good resume track record. They know how to develop receivers. But maybe they just don't know how to develop linebackers. I mean, Devondre Campbell was kind of like a journeyman at that point of his career. He was drafted by the Falcons. He went to the Cardinals and then signed on Green Bay after a breakout year. And now he's on to his fourth team. So the 49ers. So this guy's kind of been a journeyman, you know? He's almost at the end of his career. So this guy's having fun at this point, you know, because, you know, he's trying to take advantage of an opportunity. There was a time where the 49ers were going to sign Eric Kendricks, and you knew what happened from there, right? He decided to make a last-second effort to go to the Cowboys because he was going to be the starter. I think that's what it was. He wanted to play more, but Devondre Campbell was another option. Devondre Campbell was cut. He was cut. I think he was cut like during free agency, and he became available like from there. So I think he was cut like a few days after we didn't get the Kendricks deal done. So Devondre Campbell just happened to be available, and we saw what he was. You know, we were looking for depth pieces. I think bringing him in is more like a veteran presence, but to be honest with you, maybe he was at a place. Where was his production at? Because it wasn't that long ago that the guy was an all-pro linebacker. Because when he signed with the Packers, he actually had one of his best seasons and got to go to the Pro Bowl that year. Because if you look at the last two seasons, his production declined. So maybe that's why Packers moved on. Maybe he just wasn't a fit no more. So that's why they went to go draft Edgerrin Cooper and this linebacker Tyrone Harper to fill that role. That's one of their weakest spots as linebackers. But Devondre Campbell wasn't that bad of a linebacker. But for the last two seasons, he's kind of been a liability in coverage for some reason. But maybe a change of scenery for Campbell can be great for him because he gets to be our third linebacker. But he'll start the season in place of Dre Greenlaw, but he'll still have a significant role. I'm going to be honest. I think he's going to be better than Oren Burks for sure. He's going to be better than Oren Burks did. So I don't think it's going to be a concern. We signed him as an insurance policy. You know, we want to make sure we keep this team going and keep this talent around. So we're bringing in guys who are enjoying the fresh start. I mean, I think Campbell's going to fit pretty well. And I think he was just speaking out of his mind. And I think maybe Green Bay got tired of him speaking out. And maybe they just didn't want it to be out there. So I think for a guy like Campbell, he's going to speak it like it is. He's not going to BS you. He's going to tell you like how he feels. And he's not going to hide it. So I think his character speaks for itself. And I think he's going to be a nice addition. I mean, 6'4", almost 240. He's got the size. I think he's going to be a huge factor for us at some time this season. So I think when you look at it this way, people may criticize and say maybe the Packers wanted to move on because his production declined. Maybe he wasn't worth the money. But you saw the Packers did draft 2 linebackers. So maybe that's not the case. Maybe the culture just wasn't a fit for him anymore. Because sometimes when you're in an organization, you don't want to put stuff out there. And maybe he was too outspoken. Maybe being too outspoken for this organization was too much for them. They wanted to keep shit on the down low. And maybe he just wasn't that kind of guy. But in San Francisco, you're not going to deal with that shit with us. He's not going to complain about how we're going to use him because we're going to use him properly. If you don't like it, bro, you're on a winning fucking culture. There is no reason to complain about a winning culture. This Niners culture is proven. Green Bay's had a good track record at one point. But you had your reasons to complain because of the last defensive coordinator didn't put you in place to succeed. So that's definitely understandable. So I can see where he's coming from. But I think from a standpoint, he adds veteran leadership too. So that's going to be huge. I think he's an underrated pickup because he's got something left to prove. And maybe he can cash in for another opportunity elsewhere next year because all he has to do is contribute and show himself. And maybe a team will sign him to a multi-year deal before he calls it quits. But I think for him to come over here is he's going to help us in a way that we've been lacking. I think he's going to bring something that Oren Burks couldn't bring to the table. And that's bringing good veteran presence and good valuable experience. And let's not forget, he's an all-pro linebacker too. So he does kind of give us some damn good valuable experience there. So I think experience does matter. He's got playoff experience. He knows what it takes to win too. So he's been a part of the Packers winning culture. He was on the Falcons winning culture. So he knows what it takes to win. I think it's very important to look at it that way.